Hi friends, welcome back to the channel, or if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. My name is T and this is my YouTube channel, Crumpusy and Sewing. In today's video, I am going to talk about the Know Me ME2020. So I'm going to give you a pattern review of this as well as talk about my experience sewing the pattern, and I will also talk about the features of the pattern. So for this particular pattern, I decided to make this for the BHMPatternDesigners challenge that is hosted by Nateida of So Natural Dane. So every year she hosts this sewing challenge over on her Instagram as well as on her YouTube accounts, and it is a Black History Month challenge. So this challenge consists of you sewing a garment made with a Black pattern designer's pattern. And so throughout the duration of the month of February, I have made many different garments with many different Black pattern designers. So if you're interested in looking at some of the garments that I made throughout the month, check the description box below, and I'll put links in the description box below to all of the garments that I have made throughout the month of February. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and get into today's video and talk about this Know Me ME2020. So this pattern comes in 3 different groups of sizes. So you can purchase the 10 to 18, the 20W to 28W, or the 30W to 38W. So as you can tell, it has a really great group of sizes and pretty much size inclusive as far as the big 4. Now the big 5, as far as the big 5 is concerned, this is a really great group of sizes here that you can select. So on the back of the envelope, it gives you not only fabric suggestions, but it also tells you the amount of fabric that you're going to need for your project. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the fabric specifically because the fabric that is listed on here, the amount of yardage for the fabric that they are suggesting, you will need a little bit more for view B. So I can't really tell you about view A because I did not do view A, but I did view B, and I want to talk a little bit about that. The suggested fabrics are chambray, cotton blends, gingham, linen blends, poplin, shirtings, lightweight stretch wovens, chino, twill, cotton sateen, and satin denim. And you also need lightweight fusible interfacing because you will be putting interfacing on your pockets as well as you have a front facing, and you also have a collar that you're going to be interfacing as well. So you do need quite a bit of interfacing as well. You also need 10 buttons, and it depends on how you go about sewing this garment. You may need all of those buttons. You may not need all of those buttons, depending on what you do and how you sew your garment. So for instance, I omitted the pockets on the breast because it calls for 2 breast pockets. And on those 2 breast pockets, you also need 2 buttons. So that's 2 buttons that I did not use. And it also calls for tabs that go on the shoulder as well. And those tabs also have buttons. And that's another 2 buttons that I did not need. So in total, I used 6 buttons. So I have 4 buttons going down the center front of my garment. And then I also have 2 buttons on the pockets on the lower part of the skirt. So it just depends on if you decide to put the tabs on or the pockets on. You may or may not need those buttons, but functional buttons, the buttons you will need are at least 4 buttons, and those are the buttons that are going to go down the center front of the garment. So I selected size 16. And the size 16, the finished measurements for the size 16, I'll put that information here. Now, I did find that size 16 for my bust was really great. It allowed for the amount of ease that I needed. And as you can tell by looking at my pictures in the video, it does have quite a bit of ease. So I don't have to worry about anything in my bust area. Now, I will say that depending on how you wear the garment, I decided to wear my garment open. And so you can actually see a camisole underneath, as well as this lovely sweater that I have on right now underneath the garment. But the collar and the facing have enough coverage that you can cover your bust, the fullest part of your bust anyway, if you decide you don't want to show much cleavage. And so that is a possibility as well. It just depends on how you wear the garment. I just happen to have mine open so that you can see the contrast colors underneath. In terms of the fabric, the amount of fabric that you need for the project. So for view B, it's calling for, on a 60-inch wide fabric, 2 5/8 yards of fabric for sizes 16 and size 18. Now, I was working with 3 yards of fabric, and I had to use every bit of that fabric. I will say I did, instead of purchasing bias binding for the armhole to close off the armhole, I made my own bias binding. And then also on top of that, I omitted the pockets on the front of the front chest pockets. I had some scrap pieces left over, and I probably could have squeezed in those pockets, but because I was working with the ombre fabric, I was going for certain colors in certain places, and I just did not want to put those breast pockets on because of the color. I would have wanted to have more of a contrast color, maybe a darker purple or something like that, and I only had a few scraps of like the lighter shade of the pink, and I just didn't want to put the lighter shade of the pink on top of the lighter shade of the pink of the upper breast pocket or breast area. And so that's one of the reasons why I omitted the chest pockets. But I really liked the garment. I liked the way that it turned out, even though I really had to squeeze my fabric. So I would definitely say if you're working with a 60-inch wide fabric, you will need at least 3 yards of fabric. It is saying 2 5/8 yards here, but I would tell you to get 3 yards of fabric, especially because cotton tends to shrink, and depending on what kind of cotton or chambray or is calling for cotton sateen, shirting fabrics, depending on what kind of natural fibers you're working with and whether or not it's a blend or not. That can all be left open to interpretation on how much percentage it will shrink in the wash. So just keep that in mind. And I would definitely say get yourself 3 yards or 3 yards and a quarter or somewhere around there, because you are working with natural fibers. So in terms of the features of the pattern comes with 16 pattern pieces. So I would not recommend this to beginners and advanced beginners. This is a very detail-oriented pattern. It is calling for pocket gussets for the upper pockets as well as the lower pockets. You have flaps. You're working with buttons and buttonholes. You are it's just very, very detailed. You also have those tabs on the shoulder. You have a belt that it's a belt pattern that comes with the pattern. And so you are making yourself a belt. You have a collar. You have the front facing of your collar. It's just a lot that you're going to be working with. Now, I will say that if you don't want to use all 16 pattern pieces, you do have the option to make this pattern with up to, I think, about 10 to 12 pattern pieces. Like I said, 16 pattern pieces, and they are your sleeve. You have the upper pocket, the lower pocket, the lower flap, the upper flap. You also have the upper gusset and the lower gusset for the pockets. You have the facing, you have the collar, You have the upper collar and the under collar. You have the sleeve if you want to do the sleeve, but you also have the option to do the sleeveless option. You have the tabs. You have the front bodice, the back bodice, the front skirt, the back skirt. Let's see, I think that is all of the pattern pieces. But yeah, it's pretty detail oriented. And I made my garment, I made view B, and I had 12 pattern pieces. I think 11 to 12 pattern pieces, because I did initially make the tabs, but I didn't include the tabs on my final look. I just didn't like the way that they looked, so I removed them. And so there is quite a bit of work to this pattern, and you are going to be using interfacing for, like I said, the front facing, the collar for the upper collar and the lower collar, and also for your pocket flaps. So there is quite a bit of work that you're going to be putting into this project. So I would definitely recommend this to, like I said, intermediate to advanced sewists, those individuals who have been sewing these types of garments for a while. So the fabric that I chose for this is a cotton sateen fabric, and it was sponsored to me by Nateida for being an ambassador for the BHMPatternDesigners Challenge this year. So if you want to purchase some of this fabric, I'll leave the link in the description box below. She is affiliated with Spoonflower, and so all of her designs are on Spoonflower. And so, like I said, I'll put the link in the description box below. You could go over and check out this beautiful piece, but she also has all different types of ombre fabrics. She has jersey fabrics, cotton sateen. She has just all different types of fabrics. And so make sure you go ahead and check out the link in the description box below if you're interested in this fabric. So the fabric sewed up really well. It washed beautifully. And the wash, I washed it before I started the project, and then I also washed it after to get all of the fabric markings out of it. And so I was really pleased with how the garment washed and how it pressed. It's just a phenomenal piece. So in terms of my experience sewing the pattern with the fabric, I absolutely loved it. I love this dress. So I selected view B. I initially wanted to make view A with the sleeves, but I just didn't have enough fabric for it. And so I decided to go ahead and do view B. And because it's still early spring, well, it's not even really spring, it's late winter, but we're heading into spring here in the United States, I decided to go ahead and try to dress it up with a sweater. And so this sweater that I'm wearing is a ready-to-wear sweater, and it is a sweater that I have, you'll see throughout the photographs, I have paired it with this dress here. And I absolutely love it. I think that it is wonderful paired together. My daughter said if I wanted to have more of a contrast, I could actually do a white sweater, and I think that would be pretty fun as well. But I decided to go ahead and do a purple because I absolutely love this shade of purple, and it goes really well with it. And then also I paired it with a camisole as well, a purple camisole, which is also really fun. And so you definitely can get a lot of wear out of option B because it is sleeveless, but you can play with it and put like a sweater underneath or sweater over top of it. And then if you want to wear it sleeveless throughout the summer or late spring, or even in the early fall or early part of the fall season, you can definitely wear something like a camisole or something like that with it. Or you can just wear it as is, because like I said, it depends on how you wear it. And that will determine whether or not your cleavage would show or not. So it is a really great piece, and I absolutely love it. Now, in terms of the pockets, so like I said, I didn't do the upper pockets because I didn't have enough fabric, but I did the lower pockets. And they're not challenging to do, but they're different. So because it has a gusset on it, And basically, if you're new to sewing and you don't know what a gusset is, it's basically a strip of fabric that basically is sewn onto the pocket. It is a fun pattern to sew, and I would definitely recommend the cotton sateen. But I did see that I've been following the designer over on Instagram, and this week she is sewing another variation, and she's making it with I can't remember what the fabric is. It's a fluid fabric. I think it's a woven, it's like a woven drapey fabric. And and so I was thinking, wow, she's doing it with this fabric. And it's not suggested on the back of the pattern's envelope, but she's making it with this woven drapey fabric. And so it looks kind of like a drapey jacquard woven fabric. And I was really excited when I saw that, because I felt like, oh, this is going to make the pattern even more versatile than what it already is. And so I'll be able to possibly use some viscose fabrics with it, and which I have been really getting into sewing a lot of viscose and rayon garments these days. And so I'm really excited to see her final result and see how that turns out. And then I'll probably make another one. But overall, it's a really great pattern. I highly recommend it. I think it's fun to sew, very versatile. In terms of the sizing, I don't know if it's true to size, but I didn't select my normal size. So the waist, like I said, I believe the size 16 was like a size 36 or 38. And so that's like 4 to 5 inches more than I would normally have for my waist. And so I decided for my next make, I will grade down probably to the size 14. I was just being lazy and I didn't want to grade down. And I was thinking to myself, this project's going to be belted anyway. So, and it's supposed to have like a looser silhouette around the waist. If you're looking on the patterns cover, you can tell it has like a little bit of a looser silhouette. And so I was thinking, hey, it's going to be belted. I'm not going to worry about grading, but next time I would definitely grade. But that's about all I have to say about this. I think that it is a really fun sew. It's a very detailed sew. I would say it's for those individuals who are familiar with a lot of the skills that are required to complete this project. It will be easy. However, it's not going to be quick. So this is one that you need to take your time with, and you need to be patient with yourself, because there are a lot of pieces and it does take time. So, but other than that, it's a really great pattern. I absolutely love it. I think she did a really great job with this, and I'm really excited to make another one. So that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you all have a beautiful and happy sewing week. And until next time, stay creative, my friends. Bye.